Good evening, everybody. I'm Derek Michaud, and it is time to go flush in the pocket, presented by Brunswick, sponsored by Just in Time Recreation. Check them out at justintimebowl.com. And tonight we got six-time PBA champion, and he is in the Ohio USBC State Hall of Fame, Don Genalo. How are you, Don?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for doing this. Larry Verbal is a good friend of yours, and if we can get into those stories that he was talking about. But first off, how did you get started bowling?
Actually, I come from a bowling family. I'm the youngest of three boys. I have two older brothers. My dad was one of the top bowlers in the Long Island, New York area for a long time, and my brothers bowled a lot, so I was always in a bowling center.
Okay. All right. So who coached you?
Oh my gosh, there's so many people. My dad passed away when I was 5, so my brothers did a lot of coaching. My mom helped me a lot. People on Long Island, like the Messina family and Irish Coberlin, who ran a pro shop there. Out on tour, John Jowdy, Bill Hall, some friends, George Steinbach, Wyatt Kozier, Keith Nussbaum, Bill Orlikowski, who's with Brunswick.
Yep.
I've been blessed with a lot of people.
Yeah, there you go. I actually had Bill on the show recently. He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
He really is.
So. Great guy, incredible knowledge, and helped me a lot with ball drillings also.
Oh, you bet. I'm not surprised there. Let's see here. Let me. All right. So, what did you accomplish in your bowling life that made you want to try the tour and think you could be successful?
I had actually won a spot into the Long Island Open in 1981. There was a sweeper that I actually wasn't going to bowl in, and a gentleman named Ernie Peterson talked me into it, and I ended up winning it. So I got into the Long Island Open as an amateur, and then I got the last check, and I thought, well, I got the last check bowling this. I'm going to give this thing a shot and see how it goes.
Okay. All right. So what would you say is I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disorganized here. What would you say is your best moment on tour?
Winning my first title, the King Louis West Open in 1983, the week after I met Mary, who 2 years later became my wife.
Okay. So when you were on tour, you were good friends with, and you still are today, with Larry Verbal. How did you guys meet? How did you guys? What's that background story like?
We actually met through regionals, and I moved out to this area, and I cut back on tour and was bowling mostly regionals, and we traveled to a lot of regionals together. He, like me, likes to play golf, so we spent a lot of time on the golf course. So we had a lot of fun. Great guy.
All right. Now, do you have? He mentioned some stories. Do you know what these stories are? And go ahead.
Yeah, there's a. I'm not sure which one he's talking about in Fort Wayne. If it was the year I won the regional in Fort Wayne, or the year after when I got off to a terrible start in the second block. I was making a run trying to get into match play, and I hurt my ring finger. I had a sharp pain that shot right up my arm, and I ended up finishing out the block, but I just missed making it to match play, so it could have been that one.
Okay. Wow.
We have a lot of stories.
That's great. That's awesome. What would you say is your worst moment on tour?
Losing the 1983 Southern California Open to Jimmy Pritz when I miscalculated the score.
Oh.
I thought I needed a double, and I didn't strike on the second one, so I thought it was over. And turns out I just needed 3 out of the 5 pins. So.
Oh, okay.
All right. Kind of embarrassing for somebody who's a scoreboard watcher, especially.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Who would you say you beat on TV a lot or in match play in your career?
On TV, if I recall correctly, I believe I was 3-0 against Mike Albee. Regular match play, Randy Lightfoot. For some reason, when I was bowling Randy, it was no matter how bad I was bowling, all of a sudden I became very good. Then I usually
Yeah.
went back to sleep. But
Now he had some health problems. Do you know of any updates on him or anything like that?
no, I had seen it online and on Facebook a little bit, but really wasn't that familiar with it. But one of the nicest guys you could meet. I hope he's doing well.
Sure, absolutely, Randy. Um, who had your number on TV or in match play?
Mark Baker, I believe. I know I beat him on TV once, I believe, at the Tournament of Champions. But other than that, I'm not sure I beat the guy. It's just great bowler, but it's just I believe he had my number.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Let's see here. So we're talking to Don Genalo, 6-time PBA champion, and he is in the USBC Ohio Hall of Fame. What was that like to be inducted into the USBC Ohio State Hall of Fame?
That was great. There's a lot of great bowlers in this area. So it was a great honor. I very much appreciated it.
Okay. What would you say? Where would you say is your favorite tour stop?
Oh, there's so many. I loved Long Island Open at Garden City Bowl where I grew up. Imperial Lanes, made 3 shows there where I met my wife. Tournament of Champions at Riviera it was the big event, and I bowled well in that center. And I would have to throw King Louis in there. King Louis West. I made 3 shows, 2 first and a second.
Okay.
Trying to pick one is tough.
Oh no, absolutely. And when I started this podcast back in December of 22, and Parker actually was the first pro that I interviewed in February of 23, and I said, what do I ask him? And I've known Parker for a long time, and he's a great guy.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Even though I know these guys and know you guys, I don't want to have no questions written down. I could know you for 50 years, and if we were doing a podcast like this, I would definitely make sure they're written down. So these questions are asked by to everybody because how many questions are there to ask?
And Parker and I go way back. He the year after I had bowled as a non-member, 2 years later, Parker bowled as a non-member in Long Island, and that was the first time I met him. And we've become great friends. Played a lot of golf together. Also, great guy.
So what's your golf? Are you a scratch golfer or what's
no. I get my money's worth on the golf course.
Right.
A lot of strokes.
Have you ever played with EJ Tackett?
No, I'm not even sure I've met EJ Tackett. But
okay.
As far as guys on tour, obviously I played with Parker. Played a couple times with Pete Weber, Bo Bowden, Marshall Holman, very good golfer, and we became great friends. Played a number of times with him.
Where's a tour stop that you kind of struggled at, like maybe your least favorite tour stop, not because of anybody in the center, but just like what center did you kind of struggle at?
I really loved the people there, and the host treated us great. But Tucson, I don't believe I ever cashed there. I missed a rabbit there the time or two I bowled it. But so I would have to say the Tucson Open.
Mm-hmm.
For as much as I love the people and the atmosphere, I just never did well in that center.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. So we're zipping right through these. But when you were on tour, how many bowling balls did you travel with, and why?
I started out each segment with 8 because that was the number you were allowed to bring in the paddock at that time, and I don't know if they have a limit now. Then depending on how long a tour segment was, like the winter tour was 16 weeks,
right?
I could have 20 or more by the time I got done, unless I gave some away. I have a brother that lives in Iowa. If we drove through Iowa and there were a couple balls I didn't like, I might drop them off there. But usually by the end of a segment, I might end up with could be 20.
Okay. Who were you on staff with when you were on tour?
I actually wasn't with the bowling ball staff. There was a short period of time when I was on staff with U-Strike.
Okay.
They made a glove that covered the middle finger and the pinky finger. I'm sorry, index finger and the pinky finger. And I was also with LaMode for a little while. Shirts.
Okay.
shirts and pants. Some crazy colors, but they were fun.
All right. Uh, uh, was
Joe,
there a peak?
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Joe Girardi and a few others referred to Lamodes as test patterns. If you remember the test patterns from when on TV when they were getting ready to close down for the night
Okay.
many years ago.
Oh, wow. All right. Okay. Let's see here. So, was there a PBA rule that you kind of agreed with that everybody kind of griped about when you were on tour?
I'm not sure if there was griping, but I know guys did not agree with it. Was there was no coaching back then, and the players were not supposed to be discussing the lanes or I got this lane hooking or tell your friends, you know, because we all had friends out there. We
Right.
weren't supposed to exchange information, and I disagreed with that.
So you thought that you should be able to exchange information.
Yes.
So you like it better today
And
when.
there was also no coaching, which I did agree with that. But
Mhm. Okay.
telling the players to not talk is, I mean, we could talk about other things, but that just seemed a little over the top with me.
Yeah, just just like having you having it'd be kind of like me having you on my podcast and we talk about things other than bowling. If you want to talk about things other than bowling, it's like it's one of the things we talk about what we want to talk about.
Right.
Was there a rule that you didn't agree with?
Yes. Back then, you were not allowed to sand a ball during competition, but you could shine a ball.
Okay.
And I remember Larry Lichstein, and I don't know if you ever were able to see him and his crew out there. Sometimes the lines would be long for the Luster King machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand the sanding part it could harm the lane from the surface of the ball hitting the heads. But from a competitive standpoint, I didn't like the idea that a guy who hooked the ball a lot could shine his ball to get it down the lane more. But I couldn't sand mine because, as you recall, I was a very straight player. If the lanes were wet and I wanted to get a little help, I couldn't do it. So I definitely did not agree with that rule.
All right. What was not a PBA rule that should have been?
A time clock on the approach. Not that I was ever the fastest, but there were some players that just you almost wanted to touch them while they were standing there to see if they were still awake because it seemed like they were up there like they were taking a nap. So
I heard that not to throw anybody under the bus here. I heard that Barry Asher was slow on the approach. Is that true or no?
I had heard that he wasn't very slow at the start, but then later on something happened where it was I don't know if hope I'm not using the wrong word, but almost like a yips type of thing. And I don't want to offend Barry. He's a great player and
I'd love to have him
guy.
on. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But I heard something along those lines with that. But yeah, there were some very slow players out there that just like, okay.
So do you think there should have been there's a 25-second shot clock on TV? Do you think that there should be that during match play and during the week as well?
I thought back then there should have been something like that, but I just don't know how you would enforce it because how would you have enough officials around to,
right?
Yep. You could have 50 lanes of bowlers going. How are you going to enforce that across the board? So,
So Don, where did the PBA never go when you were on tour that you wish they had visited?
I thought about that one. I don't believe we ever went to Albuquerque.
Okay.
When I was out on tour, and I was trying to think. It seems like we hit all the major cities and some of the nice areas, like Austin, Texas, Houston. There's some beautiful areas that we went to. Oh, possibly Nashville. I don't think we were ever in like Nashville or Memphis. Beautiful cities where there's other things to do other than just bowling. So,
all right, we got a comment here for you. Everyone has gotten slower over the years: bowlers, golfers, baseball players, until the pitch clock. Paralysis by analysis. And he says, "Hello, Don." So thanks for viewing and watching.
Yeah, appreciate that, and I agree. I agree with the paralysis by analysis. I believe I mentioned John Jowdy earlier. He had helped me out one time when I was struggling, and after a while, I would start doing well and then struggle and start doing well. Long story short, he said, "You've been doing this all your life. You know how to bowl." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Stop thinking and throw the ball." And then he handed me my ball, and he said, "Throw it." So there's times when you need to turn it off and just let it happen.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
When
to
did
get off topic for a second, a lot of people don't like the pitch clock. I love it. The
I
game's
haven't
getting
really
so slow, and I like the batter has to get in the box, the pitcher has to get in the rubber, throw the ball, let's go. But that's me.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. He says, I'm sure you cleaned up what Jowdy told you. And he put a so
Well, John was very nice about it, but one of the things he did do with me, if you have a minute for a story,
sure.
when it seemed like I was locking up. So he had me walk like 6 feet away. And he had me walk to him. And he said, "Now think about walking to me." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Think about it. What do you do?" And I said, "Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot." He said, "Do you walk down the block like that?" I said, "No, people would look at me like I'm crazy." He said, "Okay, breathe. How do you breathe?" And I said, "Breathing." And he said, "No, think about it." So inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. He said, "You do that?" I said, "No, people would look at me like I'm crazy." He said, "Here's the ball, throw it." So that's what he was, that's the point he was trying to make. And I don't recall him using any words maybe that he shouldn't have, but he was getting his
Yeah,
point across.
sure. So kind of getting off the sheet here, who did you encounter that maybe a coach or something like that wasn't so nice, that was kind of hard on you?
Oh, people are going to take this wrong, but I'm going to say Earl Anthony.
Okay.
And I have a story to go with that.
Go ahead.
I wish he was still around. I wish I had spent more time talking to him, but we were talking at Taylor Lanes one time about uh, different bowlers and how he coaches people. And I said, "Well, what would you tell me if you were to work with me?" And he said, "Oh my gosh, you." He said, "I see how you finish, and I don't know how you didn't accomplish more in this game than you have because you finished so great. But I see how you get there." And I'm like, "How did you ever do anything in this game?" And I'm like, "What?" And he said, "So, Earl, what would you do with me?" And he said, "Well, we'd have to throw probably 100 games for 5 days and then get to work." And I said, "What?" And he said, "There are just so many things that you're doing wrong, but somehow you get them to turn out right, that
Yeah.
we would have to spend a lot of time together." So
Wow.
he
So, John,
had a great mind for the game.
yeah, where were you when we got the tragic news that Earl had passed and Dick had passed?
I don't recall where I was when Dick passed, but I was here living in Perrysburg, Ohio, and I heard about it. And as I recall, he had a heart attack and fell down the stairs or something along those lines. And I was just absolutely amazed because I'd heard he was doing very well. And, you
Mhm.
know, uh, like I said,
Yeah,
not bowling
definitely.
maybe as much anymore, but he was still golfing from what I heard. And
Mhm. Yeah, definitely sad. Hey, I'm gonna be. You're in Ohio. I'm gonna be. Wait? Are you in? You're in
just
Ohio
outside
right
of
now? Yeah.
Toledo, just outside of Toledo, just south.
Okay, I'm gonna be in Columbus in October.
Oh,
Yeah. And what? When did you leave the tour and why?
left the tour in the summer of '91. Mary was due with our second daughter, turns out,
Mhm.
Laura. And my, as I mentioned earlier, my dad died when I was 5, and my mom died when I was 14.
Mhm.
And it's like Anne was 3 at the time,
Mhm.
our first daughter. And I
Mhm.
wanted to be home and try to be a dad for them.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sorry for your losses, by the way.
Thank you, but
Absolutely. Uh, So here's one funny story. Jowdy was complaining. Somebody was complaining about Ozio after he tried to help him. I heard him muttering he'd win 4 times a year if he'd quit. Thinking, yeah. I don't know if that's Jowdy that he's referring to Ozio or.
Could have been Ozio because Dave was one of those that thought a lot. I mean, he accomplished more than I did in a super game, but yeah, he liked to analyze things a lot. So
sure. All right. So
I heard he turned into a great fisher too.
Oh yeah, I yeah, I mean he's he's great. We're Facebook friends, and I tried to get him on, and he says, "Well, I don't watch bowling. I don't care to watch bowling, and I'm that's part of my past." And he says, "I'm a fisherman now," so I'm like, "Hey, no problem."
Okay.
So, but that is definitely one grab I would have loved to have had on here. So we got through those pretty quick. If people have stuff to ask, go right ahead. But Don, so when I created this podcast, I wanted to do something called Going Flush in the Pocket, kind of the name of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And 12 questions just for fun. And let me ask you this. When was the last time you bowled 300?
Oh, that actually just came up. It was December 6th of 17. We're bowling in a classic league in, oh my gosh, Nortel Lanes up in Monroe, which has since had a fire and burned down, which was terrible. Wonderful center, great people. But the anniversary came up and it showed up in my memories on Facebook. So that's how I remember it. Been a long time.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're going to bowl 300 tonight because just using your voice, which is probably the easiest you'll probably ever have it, because 12 questions, just no thrills, just a lot of fun. So I guess let's get started. What is your favorite food?
Italian.
Okay.
Love Italian food. And a quick, I'll try to make a quick funny story. Recently had a physical with the doctor, and he had noticed I'd gained some weight. And I'm a letter carrier for City of Toledo. Mm-hmm. And the appointment was on a Tuesday. Monday is always a long day with the mail. So I worked overtime and I was starving, and Mary, my wife, had made spaghetti that night. So then we have the doctor's appointment, and he notices that, you've gained some weight since the last time. So we started talking about it, and he said, we're going to have to talk about portion control. Like when you have pasta, don't pile it up. And I just started laughing. And he had a med student with him, and the med student was behind him. And the med student saw the look on my face, and he's trying not to laugh. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't help but laughing at this. And the doctor said, you think this is funny? And I said, I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh. But last night I was starving when I got home, long day at work, and my wife made spaghetti. So here you are telling an Italian not to load up on the pasta. And I had 2 very big bowls last night. So I just like, yeah.
Are you
portion control?
You're doing okay today, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, health-wise, I'm fine. It's just he noticed I gained weight, and I need to, doing his job. He was advising me to be a little bit more careful. But
yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
Telling me not to eat pasta or cut back on pastas.
Yeah, no, it's like telling Tiger Woods to cut back on the golf. Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, really.
What's your favorite music?
Probably 80s, 70s, 80s. I'm a very big Billy Joel fan. I don't know if you saw my post about Billy Joel when they cut off the concert. And got to see him in concert in San Francisco one year. Our daughters got us tickets to a concert. So we have a daughter in Visalia. Yeah. And we got to see him at the baseball park there in Frisco, and just amazing.
Yeah. I think what's that?
Stuff from that era.
Yeah. I think I sent you a request. I'm not sure what happened, but go ahead and send me one. I'll definitely accept if you want. What would you say is, if you could have dinner with 3 people, living or past, who would they be?
Yeah, I thought about that one a lot. Besides my dad, obviously, because he passed when I was 5. Earl, because I did have a couple of conversations with him, but I would have been loved to sit down and and picked his mind even more. He told me about what he would do practicing to get ready for going out on a tour segment, whatever.
Mhm.
And if I had to pick a third, I love golf, even though I'm terrible at it. I would say Jack Nicklaus.
You're better than I am, I guarantee it.
Just to see the way he always handled himself out there, although from a humor standpoint, maybe Fuzzy Zeller or Lee Trevino, but
Sure.
I think just to pick the mind would be Jack Nicklaus.
So this is going to sound terrible, and I'm sorry for this.
Oh no, don't.
The only telecast that I remember watching you bowl in was the '92 Tournament of Champions. I think you were the top seed.
Oh, and Mark McDowell beat me.
Yeah.
Yep.
What kind of bowler were you on the lanes as far as intensity or anything like that?
Very intense, and it's something that I'm 66 now, and I'm trying to cut back on because I'm trying to have fun. But it's like when I start missing spares or making a bad shot that I don't think I should make, it's like, you're better than this. But I tend to be very intense still on the lanes. But yeah, that was an excellent show. It didn't turn out the way I would have preferred, but
Sure.
Mark bowled great.
Absolutely. What was your favorite toy as a child?
The plastic ball and pins. I was always bowling in the hallways, or I don't know if my brothers are tuned into this or not. One's in Iowa, one's in Florida, but they'll remember. And this, I'm kind of embarrassing myself here. I had my pretend friends when I was very little, make believe friends, and I'd be bowling with them or against them or whatever. And I've always had a ball in my hand. So
listen. I used to, when I was a kid, I used to pretend I was friends with professional bowlers, and now I am. And I'm not weird like I was back then, but I mean,
well, people always ask me what did you dream about as a kid, and they said I dreamed about beating these guys on TV.
Yeah,
where other kids were dreaming about hitting the home run to win the World Series or throwing the touchdown pass, catching the touchdown pass, whatever it was. I was beating Dave Davis or Dick Weber or whoever it was on TV, and I was fortunate enough to end up living some of that dream. So.
Who did you never face on TV or in match play that you wish you had?
Oh, on TV, I wish I would have gotten to bowl against, say, Earl or Parker.
Yeah.
I believe I bowled against most of the other greats. I bowled against Pete, Marshall. We made a number of shows together and became great friends. And I never got to bowl him. Whoever was lower seed seemed to lose before he got there. But
so okay, same thing along the lines of you. I have when I was a kid, we had a hall that wasn't a hallway. It wasn't 60 feet long, but it was long enough that it could be whatever. And I actually had put a hole in the wall, and it wasn't a real bowling ball. It was just that stupid plastic ball and those pins. Well, I threw it like a regular ball, and I put a hole in the wall. So my parents would be like, listen, if you're going to bowl, put this board up so that, it doesn't hit the wall. So that's how I had to do it.
There you go.
Yeah, that's exactly how I had to do it.
You can bowl all you want, just don't damage the house.
Exactly. When on tour, what did you do to take your mind off of bowling?
When the weather was nice, it was golf.
Sure.
I had a couple of roommates that we would try and do things like we went to some of the amusement parks, like when we were in Anaheim, we went to Disneyland or Six Flags, something like that. In the colder weather, it was read a book or crossword puzzles. Sometimes we played cards. There was a group that played hearts or spades back then.
Sure. What is your favorite time of day?
Morning.
Okay.
I am a big morning person. I usually, at least for one more day, have my phone set for 5:30, and I am always up by 5:15. I can't remember the last time I heard the alarm actually go off, but and I say one more day because tomorrow's my last day of work. I'm retiring, so.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
all. You say whatever you want. Listen, let me tell you something. I've not that we need to do this here, but I've had podcasts that are 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. This is your when I
Hey,
did this, right? When I started this, by the way, congratulations on your retirement. Seriously.
thank you.
When I did this podcast, when I created this, I was like, I kind of did this as an excuse to talk to the people that I look up to the most, which are professional bowlers. I don't care how many titles you got. If you ever bowled on TV, I want to talk to you.
Mhm.
And, I look at you guys as heroes.
Oh, thank you.
And absolutely. And so, but I always say I want you to have more fun than me. So so whatever, if you agree to come on my podcast, it's on the table. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to, any story you want to tell, it's all you. That is not a problem at all. But no, I absolutely love doing this podcast, and I really appreciate everybody, including you, who's giving me the time of day. Where's your favorite vacation spot?
I'm not sure I ever really had one until our daughter moved out to California, and she got married and has 4 children. So we have 4 grandchildren in Visalia, Central Valley of California. So we go out there every vacation. And now that I'm going to be retired, there's a couple of things Mary would like to do. We're going to maybe just take some road trips and, see other parts of the country along with going out to see the grandchildren. So
there you go. That is awesome. And I'm sorry, you did what for work?
I'm a letter carrier for the city
What?
of Toledo.
Oh man.
Yeah, I carry mail. I walk in the area of 10 miles a day, and I had a route that was longer till December of 22. But there were it was a lower income area and a lot of dogs, especially pit bulls, and got chased a few times and bit a couple of times, and just said, when this route opened up, we have to bid on routes, and I bid on it and moved over. But
man, that is
exercise. I love it.
Yeah, that's a thankless job, though, isn't it? I mean, my gosh.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah.
There are days like today was, for the most part, was a beautiful day, probably in the 70s, sunny most of the day. And I said, days like this, I think I'm getting paid to walk around in the fresh air, a beautiful day like this. This is wonderful. And then you have other days where, Northwest Ohio in the winter, it's 10 degrees, snowing like crazy, or middle of summer, it's 95 or 100, humid and anything. And I'm thinking, thank God I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Don, do you have any guilty pleasures?
Ice cream.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like every night I try to have a snack before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And so I try to alternate between ice cream and something else, but it's always drawn to the ice cream. And we have a couple of good ice cream places around near here, Mr. Freeze and Oh Dear Diner, and there's another couple of them, and it's like, okay, where are we going tonight? It's like
so, all right, couple questions. Hard
Sure.
serve, soft serve.
Soft.
Okay. What's your go-to flavor?
Oh, butter pecan.
Okay.
If I got to buy it at a store, butter pecan, and then if we go to one of the places, I usually get like a White Mountain or some sort of big sundae.
Okay. I'm a chocolate vanilla twist. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. That is awesome. I'm definitely an ice cream guy myself. All right. So let's go the other way. Do you have any phobias?
Probably spiders or bugs.
Really?
Yeah, I really don't like bugs. I don't know. It's just.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a story I could say without embarrassing somebody. But there was one instance where somebody I thought was yelling fire, and I went running up, and it turned out it was Spider.
Oh, no.
And I almost had a heart attack because I thought something was on fire. And I just had to go grab a shoe to kill this spider. But it's like, I see a bug, it's like, Mary, get that bug for me.
Okay, so she's the bug killer in the house.
Yeah, I mean, like flies I can get with a fly swatter, but
Yeah, yeah, I got you. That's awesome.
Mary, something's crawling in here.
Yeah, right. Um, what was the best advice you were ever given?
Oh, I thought about that one. Be yourself, which was also the worst advice I was ever given.
Yep.
Be yourself so that people will believe you and trust you and they know you're true.
Yep.
The other side of it is I have a tendency to shoot from the lip. So
Yeah,
sometimes being myself can get me in trouble.
man. Oh, another reason I do this podcast is because I hope to keep in touch with the people that I am not yet connected with. So, man, I'd love to keep in touch with you. You're fantastic. You're just great. I'm the exact same way. A buddy of mine says the best thing about me and the worst thing about me is I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yeah. And then every once in a while you see the meme about your face talks too much, or if I don't say it, my face will. And it's like people look at me and say, why are you looking at me like that? I didn't say anything. No, your face did.
All right. So did you cover it? Worst advice ever given?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be yourself, because that gets me in trouble. It was the same.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
When you leave this earth in 150 years, Don,
Uh,
how do you want to best be remembered?
as a good guy, honest.
Yeah.
You knew what he was thinking, but I meant well.
Yeah.
You didn't have to wonder if was there an ulterior motive or hidden meaning or something like that. I guess true.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. That is incredible. That's awesome. And listen, Don, this was quick. It was great to chat with you.
If it's all right with you, can I tell a Marshall Holman story?
Please.
Okay. I've got to share this because I don't think too many people know about it. But Marshall, I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, is one of the most misunderstood people in the game of bowling.
I'll tell you why I agree after you're done.
Okay. A lot of people just saw him on TV. And actually, now that I think about it, I might have a couple of stories here. But
go ahead.
They didn't see the other side of Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in an office working or something, nobody sees you. Sometimes something happens and you get upset. Nobody sees it. Bowlers on TV, or if you're out at the tournament watching and something happens, that's our living. Some people are like Marshall and myself, where you wear your heart on your sleeve, and others are like Tommy Baker, who amazing bowler, but he could have 11 opens in a row or the first 11 strikes, and you wouldn't know what he was thinking. He was, so calm.
Dave Arnold too.
Dave Arnold. There's a few players like that.
Yep.
My first point with Marshall is World Open one year. He was coming off a block where he didn't do as well as maybe he thought he should. And he was running a little hot. Went into the bar, and a gentleman who may have had too many started talking to Marshall about, you don't remember me, do you? And, the slurring words and whatever. And Marshall's standing there looking at him. And I'm thinking, oh, this isn't going to be pretty.
Right.
And the guy is talking and talking, and I'm looking at Marshall, and the wheels are turning. You can almost see him. And then all of a sudden, Marshall says, oh, yeah, you are. And he says the guy's name. He said, we bowled on. And he named a few other people that bowled. And I mean, I think this guy almost sobered up, because he was like, Marshall was remembering everything. And got all done. Marshall shook his hand, told him have a great night, whatever, and walked away. And I went over to Marshall and I said, did you just make all of that up? And he said, no, I remember it. And he would remember things like that. And he was so nice. He was off the lanes, he was done bowling, and he just made this guy's night. It was wonderful to see that. And of course, it made me think of another Marshall story.
Go ahead.
Marshall's dad, I'm terrible now, I can't remember his name, but the first time I met him, I had just taken the lead the first round of match play in Seattle, the Seattle Open, the year I won it, 84.
Mhm.
And one of the last games I bowled Marshall and I beat him.
Mhm.
And the paddock was in one side of the center and the press room was in the other. So I put my stuff away. I have to go to the press room to meet. And some elderly gentleman comes up to me and gets in my face about what I did to his son. And as I said, I wear my heart in my sleeve. So I've got all I could do to keep from saying, get out of my way. I got to go do this. I'm like, sir, I'm sorry. And I'm apologizing. And the man said, I can't believe you did that to my son. Why would you do that to my son? Da, 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 da. I said, sir, I'm sorry. Find your son. I will apologize. I'll take care of this. He said, you don't know who I am, do you? And I said, no. I'm Marshall's dad, and you beat him. Great bowling tonight. Keep it going. And he just was so friendly. He was playing me.
Yep.
And here I am ready to go off. And then he tells me who he is. And I'm like, I looked up as I'm walking towards the press room and thinking, thank you, Jesus, for not letting me go off because Marshall would kill me.
Oh my God. So I agree with you 100%. And here's why. And I don't mean to use him as an example, but I'm going to. There are people in this world who can't stand Sean Rash.
Right.
And my question is why? Because if you watch Sean Rash for an hour and a half or 10 minutes, however, whether he wins or loses on TV, that's one side of him.
Mhm.
But if you've never met him, why would you not like Sean Rash? And I've used that example. I don't mean
Belmonte, so
huh?
I've heard the same about Jason Belmonte.
Belmonte is, let me tell you something. So I have thrown Brunswick equipment for over 25 years, since 99. I'm not on staff. People consider me a staffer, even though I'm not, but so I go up to Jason in 2016 and I said, hey, Jason, I'm Derek Michaud, just want to, introduce myself. And he says, well, I really appreciate you introducing yourself. An asshole doesn't say that.
Right.
The nicest guy in the world does.
Right.
And you judge these people. For anybody that watches this podcast, whether it's live or down the road, please don't judge a pro bowler by what you see on TV.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, that's our office. And sometimes when things happen, you may not react in a positive way. And it doesn't mean you're a jerk. It just, so.
A buddy of mine doesn't like Pete Weber because he tried to say something to him, but Pete just didn't give him the time of day or whatever. I'm like, I firmly believe there's a right time and a wrong time to say something to a professional bowler, positive or not. All right. So if Parker was telling a story when I asked him, I said, what is your worst moment on tour? He said he was talking about when he was shot 114 in match play and he missed the show. He was in the show, and then position round or whatever, he shoots 114. So I asked him, I said, if you shoot 114 and somebody comes up to you asking for an autograph, do you give it to them right then, or do you say, hey, listen, I just need a minute. I got to, just cool off, and then I'll be more than happy to give you an autograph. And he says, no, I'll do it right away because it's not their fault that I shot 114. But I guarantee you, Holman, Weber, Rash shoots 114. They need a minute to cool off, which is fine.
And I would probably be the same way because I'm
exactly.
I wear my heart on my sleeve, and sometimes when I lost that tournament to Jimmy Pritz, I was boiling because I did something so stupid, not only embarrassed myself on TV, but I just lost a title. That would have been my third title of the year. And of course, if you're familiar with the format, whatever, they usually want you in the press room right away. And I said, guys, give me 5 minutes to cool off. I just need to sit and chill for a little bit. And they said, tell you what, bring your drink in with you. We'll sit there and watch you. And if it looks like you're going to say something maybe you shouldn't or get upset, we'll watch you. I said, okay, but really, I can't have 5 minutes. There's just
that's ridiculous.
That,
you're Don Genalo before you're Don Genalo, the PBA bowler who had you're the man before you're the guy with the obligations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And then one other story about Marshall is trying to show the other side of the guy.
mhm.
My first show, North Olmsted, Ohio, in '82, fall of '82.
Yeah.
Make the show. We get done with the headshots and everything else. We've got to do the interviews on, maybe not headshots, but the interviews and whatever.
Mhm.
And over to the paddock and get, changed, whatever.
Mhm.
Heading out, and Marshall comes up to me. And I mean, I knew Marshall. We bowled against each other. We never really talked much. And he said, "First show?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay." We chatted a little bit, and he said, "I'm not telling you to go out and get drunk tonight. I am telling you, have a glass of wine or two, something to take the edge off. Do not get drunk. You don't want to show up here on a hangover. Something to take the edge off so you can sleep. Do you run?" And I said, "Only to the car and back when it's raining. That's about the extent of my running." And he said, "Do something to get yourself tired so you can sleep, so you can show up tomorrow and be ready to go." I said, "There's a Three Stooges marathon on." And there was. I said, "You like the Three Stooges?" I said, "Who doesn't like the Three Stooges?" So here's one of the all-time greats in the game, talking to a guy making his first show, trying to make him feel good and feel relaxed and giving him advice. We come in the next day. We're doing the headshots and the interviews and whatever, and he's talking about the Three Stooges to me. He said, "Was this great, or did you see that, or whatever?" And I'm like, I got all done with it, and I said, "I can't believe this man who shouldn't be giving me the time of day is taking his time like this to be this nice to me." And I know if I had gone up the ladder and bowled him for the show, he'd have come at me with guns blazing like he did anybody else. But I was just so impressed by that. And as time went on, we got to be good friends, and I got to play golf with him. But that's the side of Marshall that people should know about. He
Oh
is a
yeah.
wonderful person.
Now, if you go up to Marshall and you're an ass, he'll be an ass. But
Oh, yeah.
you go to Marshall and you'll be like, "Hey man, I'm a fan of yours. I've been a fan of yours. He might, he'll give you the time of day. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
he really will."
Yeah, like
met
I said,
him.
that gentleman in the bar who was, I thought, being a jerk, but he had, I thought, a few too many.
Yeah.
And Marshall was so nice to the guy. I mean, at first he was quiet,
Yeah.
but I think he was trying to remember the instance. Sometimes you need a little time to think about, hey, wait, did this happen? And and once it came to him, wow, it was just so impressive.
Is different about the PBA today that you wish was the same? Hold on, let me figure out how to word this. What is different about the PBA today that you wish was the same when you were on tour? Like when you were on tour,
Mhm.
the PBA was one way. Today it's obviously different. Is there anything that you wish from back then was still part of the tour today?
Oh, there's a few things. The
Okay.
first thing is I wish they could bowl. I wish there was the interest that they could bowl the number of events that they used to. We would bowl 34, 36 a year.
Yep.
Go around the country a couple times. We start in California or Washington, maybe, go to Vegas, and then swing back Florida to the Midwest, back to the East Coast, and end up in Akron. And then spring tours, pretty much same thing. Excuse me.
Mhm.
But I'm not even sure how many events they're actually bowling now. I know one year, I believe they bowled 7 events in one center in like a couple week span. And it's like 7 different conditions in the same center. They're not traveling. They're just staying in the hotel. I
Mhm.
like the idea of going around the country, different centers, different
Yep.
temperatures. Everything is, you're bowling a lot more games.
Mhm.
The other thing, they didn't re-oil between squads back then.
Okay.
I would love to see some of these players. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from their ability. They're great
Oh,
players.
of course. Right.
Bowl on the burn, bowl on a C squad on wood lanes at, say, Imperial, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, but you get
Right.
my point.
Yeah.
Bowl C Squad, or now they call it the Burn Squad.
Yeah.
And, see what that's like. I just,
Is Southwick still around?
Southwick is around. They're in the process of changing it over to string pins.
Oh,
Mike Ducat bought it, and he removed the lanes from one side. I believe he's keeping 8 on that side for like corporate parties and whatever.
mm-hmm.
This is some of the information I was told, and the rest is going to be sports bar and restaurant, and one side is going to have 32 lanes of string pins.
Oh.
So I believe they're looking. Last I heard, they were looking at reopening May or June, but those dates could be off too. So,
what are your thoughts on string pins?
Personally, don't like them. The competitor in me doesn't like them.
Sure, that's where I'm at.
I have seen videos of, say, splits being made where the pin doesn't hit the other pin. The string knocked it over. One of the videos I vividly remember is if somebody shot the 3-7,
mm-hmm.
and the 3 went around the 7, but the string got the 7 as it's going by, and they said that's a spare. And I said, I'm sorry, but if that's me and I'm bowling this gentleman in match play, you're reshooting that bad boy. I'm sorry.
Are there a lot more?
The ball hits it or the pin hits it.
Are there a lot more 7-10 split conversions than there are like today because of string pins than there?
I don't know what the numbers are, but I would believe it because you see the pins bouncing around like that. I would believe the string is hitting the other string, and
no.
And that as a competitor would drive me nuts. If you're going out fun with friends, have a few beverages and have some laughs, fine. But if you're bowling in a scratch league or a tournament, oh my gosh,
no.
that would drive me crazy.
So you bowled on tour for a long time. You've been around bowling for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. What bowling alley, closing or changing, broke your heart the most?
Oh. Well, if I was still on tour, I'd say King Louis West because I just absolutely loved it. Showboat in Vegas. I made a couple shows there with Jim Miller in the doubles, and then I made my second show there. Finished second to Tom Milton. But yeah, I would say those two. Now Imperial Lanes, where I met my wife, is gone. So I was told Garden City's still going. So I had posted one time on Facebook that was gone too, and I think every center except Windsor, Canada is gone that I won in. And then somebody said, no, Garden City Bowl's still there. I said, well, so.
What drove me nuts, I heard that Bradley Bowl in Windsor Locks is now an entertainment center.
That's what I heard too, and I love that center. The people there were so nice.
Yeah.
Made a show or two in that center too, and just that whole crew there. It was an enjoyable stop.
Yeah, what Mika did in that center was that's the thing I remember the most. I've never been there, but what Mika Koivuniemi did in that center in 2003, that was something special, and to have them turn that away and just turn it into an entertainment, I don't understand it. I don't understand it, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. Hey, tomorrow night I got Dale Eagle. You got any good Eagle stories?
Oh my gosh, the Eagle, love him.
What am I in for?
What a great guy. I'm trying to think if it was the first year that I made the show at Garden City. I believe it was, but where the TV pair was and where they set up the broadcast booth where Chris and Bo were was very close to the bowling center's main counter. And I don't remember if Dale was standing on the counter or just right behind it or whatever.
Standing on it.
One of my nicknames was Jello, and he would be back there as I'm getting up. He would never yell when I was on the approach or anything like that. But he would be top of his lungs, Jello! Driving Bo and Chris nuts. And they both knew him because everybody knew Eagle, and they knew how harmless he was. He was just having fun. And then I heard about it afterwards because, between shots, people are yelling and saying things. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. He's such a great guy.
Oh gosh, I cannot wait. We've postponed this thing like 3 times. He says, and I got to apologize to you because I totally blanked. And I was like, and then I looked and I'm like, oh shit, we did schedule for tonight. And I almost blanked. I almost scheduled
I didn't
Dale.
want to contradict you, but yeah, I had it on my phone and I showed my wife, and she said, I thought you said it was tonight because I can't be home. And you said, that's perfect. I'll have the house to myself.
So, and these questions, like I said, these questions are all, everybody gets them. So it was easy to write it up. But, we scheduled it 3 times because, he was like, how about Tuesday? And I'm like, oh shit, the Bruins play. All right, how about we do it at 6? So we're doing it tomorrow night at 6.
You're a Bruins fan?
Oh, huge.
Oh, I'm an Islanders fan, and now that I live out here, Red Wings also. So
yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I am a huge Boston Bruins fan. I'm hoping they close it out tomorrow night. But let me ask you this. When you sit back and think about your career and what you've done and maybe haven't done, when you lay your head down at night, are you satisfied with your PBA career, or do you think you could have done more?
I could have done more.
Yeah.
There were times when my, all honesty, my head got in the way.
Sure.
There were times when I might have been a little bit too emotional or just made the wrong decision because I got stubborn. This is what I need to do, and I probably should have changed or whatever. But I think that's something that along the lines of what Earl said, the way you finish, you should have done so much more with your game.
Right.
And about a college coach that I had, Rocco Caniglio. We were talking one time when I was struggling, and he said, you have $1 million stroke and a 10-cent head. And I said, a 10-cent head? And he said, if you would just let yourself bowl instead of getting so wrapped up in what you're doing, you could be so much better. Sure. So I guess it goes back to, 1, the emotion, and 2, overthinking things, So, yeah, I think I could have done more. There were a couple of events that got away from me that I think I could have had. So,
what's one bowling shot you'd like to have back?
Oh, one shot in my whole life?
However many you want to mention.
If you ever saw the show where I lost to Jimmy Pretz, when I thought I lost, so I just picked up. I mean, how many times in your life have you picked up the ball and just shot it, say, a 6-pin, without even thinking about it, and made the 6-pin?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I needed to get 3 pins. I didn't know I needed 3 pins. I thought I lost, so I just picked up the ball, fired it down the lane. It went in the gutter, and I went. People say, "Oh wow, he lost by 2 pins," and I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Pardon my language, but
no, say whatever you want.
What are you talking about? I lost when I didn't strike, and they said, "No, if you get 3 pins, you win." And then I look at the score and whatever, and it's like, oh my God, if I would have taken like 2 seconds to make sure I hit the 6-pin, at worst I chop it and we tie. But I figured it didn't matter. I chucked the ball down the lane and went in the gutter, and I'm thinking, big stinking deal. And so if there was ever one shot, that would be the shot I'd want back. Along those lines, if I can add something,
please.
Jimmy Pritz and I became very good friends. We played golf together and got to know his family, went to his place. I believe we went up to his house in Massachusetts, but he never got credit for the game he bowled there. He bowled an excellent game. And people always said you only won because of what Genalo did. Partially true, but he bowled a clean game and should have gotten more credit than that. But so I think that's a shame too. So,
I had Dell and Carolyn on here one time, and I must not have been thinking, because I asked them, and I just treated them just like normal people, normal pro bowlers, and I said, "What's one bowling shot you'd love to have back?" And remember, Dell did what Dell did in 91.
I believe against Pete, wasn't it?
Yeah. He needed 7 pins and he threw it in the channel. And I'm just like, oh my God, because somehow we mentioned that, like we talked about it like 3 times, and I just I felt after that, I was like, don't ever ask that question again, because I just, unless it's,
I don't mind you asking a lot. There are people that have asked, and honestly, you're being very nice about it. There are some people who, hey, remember that stupid shot you did when you did your brain dead, or maybe they weren't that nice about it. You're being nice about it, and something that happened. I screwed up. In all honesty, there were people there that apologized to me for what happened, and I said, "Why?" Remember Harry Golden was the tournament director?
sure, yep, before my time, but yep.
Yeah, he apologized to me for not making sure that I knew the score, and I said, "You're not my babysitter. I'm supposed to know what the score is."
Right.
And Frank Ellenberg was working in the truck, and I think producer, whoever was ever in charge, said, "Put up the video. We're close on time. Genalo is the winner." And he said, "Genalo hasn't won yet. He's got to get 3 pins." He said, "Put it up." So he blamed himself, and I said, "I never looked at the monitor. I thought I lost when I didn't strike."
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where I'm not proud of the mistake I made, but I owned up to it. It wasn't anybody else's fault. I screwed up. So
see, I don't care who comes on here. I don't care. I mean, I made the mistake, and I'll be honest. I'll admit I made the mistake on social media of bashing Jason Belmonte, and I did when I was stupid thing. And I regret that. And now I'm at the point where I don't hate or dislike any Pro Bowler. I like them all because they're all approachable. So the reason I'm so nice to, even if somebody thinks that, oh, you had this guy on, what an asshole, I will always be nice, because you have 6 PBA titles, an amazing career, and you're choosing to spend an hour with me when you could be doing literally anything else.
I appreciate it. I don't get much time in the limelight anymore. I do those TV shows, and I love it when people recognize me. There's been a couple of times out on my route where people said, there used to be a bowler named Don Genalo, and I said, yeah. I raised my hand, so you're him. And a couple of them, remember the bowling cards?
Yeah. What's that?
The bowling cards. They were called Kingpin bowling cards.
Okay.
If you ever have a chance, if you haven't actually seen them, I don't think I have mine handy. But you can Google it. I still get people that send it in the mail. Send me the cards in the mail to have autographed. I always said that I joke mine is, how I used to stand on the approach with the ball like this in front of my face?
Right. Yep.
That's the picture that they used. And I said, I think they're making an editorial comment. They're blocking my face. But yeah, so I still get that once in a while, and I love it. It's, glad that the fans are still watching and remembering.
Were you surprised that I knew who you were?
Kind of. There are people that, when I say bowling and Don Genalo, and they're like, actually, I helped coach one of the high school teams in the area. And a couple of, the main coach introduced me and told him who I was. And I said, well, I bowl in a league tomorrow night. One of the kids looked at me and said, you still bowl? And I said, hey, I'm old, not dead.
What's your average now, Don?
I'm sorry?
What's your average now?
This year I ended up at 212, and it's a fun league. Bunch of actually, I'm the second youngest of the group.
Okay.
At January 1st, I was 218 and thinking, hey, it's getting better. It started the year, I was missing a lot of spares, which drove me up the wall. But I was getting better. And then since January, for some reason, couldn't figure things out, missed too many spares. I ended up at 212, but it's a fun league. It's not a scratch league with a lot of money in it.
Sure.
I of course think I should be a heck of a lot better, but
do you have any desire to bowl PBA 50 events or 60 events?
I did years ago, but needed to be working. I couldn't take the time away to go do it. Now being retired, I'd rather spend the time. Mary's got a couple of places she'd like to go. So between that and California, let's take a couple road trips and, go drive somewhere and see some things. And one of my regrets and this might be a good question to ask people too. I don't know.
Yeah.
One of my regrets from the days on tour, because I drove everywhere, was not taking a little more time. Like as many times as I was out there driving across the country, I never saw the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Right? We bowled in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
I never went up in the Arch.
Okay.
This is such a beautiful country. If I had a regret from all my time on tour, was not to take a little bit more time somewhere along the way to stop and see it. I saw some beautiful golf courses, but to see some of the other beautiful things. My wife and I did get to see Mount Rushmore,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so many other beautiful places that.
Man, how far are you from Columbus?
2.5 hours.
Oh gosh, come out.
They got this Columbus Square Bowling Palace. Used to have a tour stop. I don't know if they still do, but what a beautiful center.
It's not there this year. No. So actually, that's where I shot my first 600. So I a little about me. I've got cerebral palsy on my left side.
Oh, okay.
And I get a visual impairment. The optic nerves in my eyes are damaged. This eye's 2200. This eye's 2400. So I take one step and throw the ball.
Okay.
So I can throw it probably around 16 miles an hour. High game is 251. Like I said, I shot my 600 in Columbus. I shot 178, 223, and 209. So that was a pretty big deal to me. 600 is definitely not an honor score, but to me it was.
Right.
So I think we're bowling in what is it? Park lanes, or it's not necessarily in Columbus, but there's Park, Ohio or something. I got to figure it out, but yeah, man, come out and I tell you what, if you do, I will buy you a beverage or whatever. I mean, it'd be great. But no, I think I will. I think I will throw that in there. And man, I appreciate this. Let me ask you this. Normally I do this off air, but the guy that inspired me to do this podcast, his name's Andrew Pfeffer, and he's got Bowling with the Pfeff. Can I put you? Can I get you guys in contact? He would love to have you on his show. I know he would.
Yeah, if you want to give my info, we'll try and work something out.
Sweet. Well, Don, this has been an absolute pleasure. I hope you had fun.
I enjoyed it, and thank you for letting me babble some of the time. I mean,
it's your podcast. So
there are people out there, like you said, that they're misunderstood. They only see them for the 10 or 15 minutes on TV and think they're jerks, and they're actually very nice people. And
so going, if I may, going back to Rash, the reason I say what I said is because in 2015 he did these, and he still does these bowling camps. Mm-hmm. Well, when he was with Brunswick, I mean, we corresponded on Facebook a couple of times, but when we were in Augusta, Maine, I'm not in the door 30 seconds and he's right there. Hey, Derek, how's it going? I'm like, that man treated me like gold that day, and he always has. Mm-hmm. And it's just because he acts a certain way on TV. I mean, the man is trying to put food on the table for his family using his bowling ball.
Right. And a lot of people don't understand. If you don't cash, that's a week of bills that you've got no money coming in. That was a living for a lot of guys. That was it. There wasn't, not everybody had sponsorships. So, and speaking of misunderstood, as much the late Mark Roth, love him,
sure.
Amazing bowler. But a lot of people saw Mark only on the lanes as cold, not personable. You couldn't talk to him, whatever. Well, that was his office. You couldn't talk to him. But
yeah,
he did an exhibition in, I believe it was Ames, Iowa, or in that area. My brother Larry went to see him. And he said, Don, you would not believe the show that Mark put on. He was laughing. He was telling jokes. He was just wonderful. And I said, Mark who? And he said, Mark Roth. And I said, because I'd only seen Mark on the lanes. I, at that point, had not hung out with him at all and right. Gotten to know him. And he said, oh, no, he was completely different from what we're used to seeing. Yep. And all because he was doing an exhibition. You were seeing another side of him. And then the next time I saw him, I mentioned it to him, and we started laughing and having fun, and I got to know the other side, the non-business side of Mark, and what a fantastic guy he was. So
I met Mark April 2nd, 2016, and he was. I wear shorts when I bowl, and I do because I've split jeans before, and I can't wear sweatpants during tournaments. But
right.
my state tournament, now they allow shorts if they're in good condition. So I wear shorts, and so whenever I wear a bowling shirt, I always wear shorts. So Mark Roth came up to me and says, a little too cold to be wearing shorts, don't you think? And I said, yes, sir. But no, it was great. Mark, rest in peace, man.
Right.
I really I wish I was doing this podcast when he was. I kind of wish I was born in your era. And I wish the internet was a thing in your era, because man,
wow. Stories that can't go on the air would be all over the internet.
Oh, I know it, man. But hey, man, listen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Keep in touch, and send me a friend request if you want. If you don't, that's fine. But I will talk to you soon, and I will get you.
Facebook, but that's all right. We'll work that out. I said I thought we were friends on Facebook, but we'll work that out. So
that's all right, man. I'll get you and Andrew in contact, and everybody tune in tomorrow night at 6:00. Dale Eagle. That's got to be awesome.
You are going to have a lot of fun with that, man.
Oh yeah. This has been Flush in the Pocket, presented by Brunswick, sponsored by Just in Time Recreation. Check them out at justintimebowl.com, and be there Friday for their grand opening ribbon cutting at 3:00. Man, I'm assuming, Don, you've heard about that horrible tragedy back in October. Just senseless shooting in Lewiston, and they're rebounding. They're ready to reopen and just have a good time. And it's going to be great. So we'll talk to you tomorrow night. And Don, you be well, sir, and I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks again for having me.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Bye.